2,000 millionaires left Hong Kong in 2023. That is not rumor, that is the Henley & Partners Global Wealth Migration Review. And almost all of them ended up in the same city. Here is the receipt nobody is reading. Singapore just absorbed one of the biggest private wealth transfers in Asian history, and it is costing local residents in ways that do not show up on the government press releases. We are going to cover who moved and why, what it is actually doing to Singapore from the inside, and what both cities look like over the next 20 years. Stay till the end. The third one changes how you think about all of this. So how does a city that ran Asian finance for half a century start losing ground? June 2020, the national security law lands in Hong Kong. For wealthy international families, the calculus changes overnight, not just politically, legally. The independence of Hong Kong common law courts becomes genuinely uncertain, and when legal certainty goes, capital follows. The first movers are gone before the ink is dry.
Here is what the movement looks like in hard numbers. Singapore's Monetary Authority, the MAS, published data showing the city had around 400 approved single-family offices at the end of 2020. By the end of 2022, that number was over 1,100. By end of 2023, it crossed 1,400. 2 years, nearly tripled. That is not organic growth. That is a direct transfer of wealth management infrastructure from one city to another, and the MAS data makes the timing impossible to ignore. But why Singapore specifically? For a family office choosing a jurisdiction, the checklist is simple: legal certainty, tax structure, physical infrastructure. Singapore scores clean on all three: zero capital gains tax, zero inheritance tax, English common law, a government that has been actively courting wealth management since the 1990s. Hong Kong had almost all of that too, right up until the legal certainty question became genuinely impossible to ignore. Singapore ranked third globally in March 2024, Hong Kong fourth. 3 years earlier, those positions were reversed. In finance, rankings signal trust, and trust is what capital follows. Here is the number that should stop people cold. By the end of 2022, Singapore had approved more new family office structures in 24 months than it had built in the decade before that. MAS published data confirms it. This is not a slow burn success story. This is a structural shift happening in real time, and most coverage is still calling it a trend.
But here is what most people get wrong. The story is not Singapore winning. That framing misses all the friction. The moment you absorb a few thousand ultra-wealthy families into a city of 6 million people, three things start breaking: housing costs, talent market distortion, political pressure from the people who actually grew up there and cannot afford to leave. Singapore is winning the headline. Some of its residents are quietly reading the fine print. Singapore's Urban Redevelopment Authority tracks private residential property prices every quarter. Their index rose roughly 37% between the first quarter of 2020 and the end of 2023. In a city where housing was already expensive by regional standards, that is not a footnote. Wealthy migrants did not cause this alone, but they compressed a decade of demand into 4 years, and the average Singapore renter felt it. Here is the split that matters. Singapore's government earns substantial fees from its Global Investor Program, the official wealth migration visa scheme. Institutions collecting management fees win, early property owners win, but the median Singaporean household is absorbing rising rents at the same time. One city, two completely different experiences of the same event. That is not a design flaw. It is the design working exactly as intended. Singapore has been running this play deliberately, and the timeline makes it obvious. The Global Investor Program launched in 2004, restructured in 2012. Then in 2023, the Singapore Economic Development Board raised the minimum investment threshold to $10 million, roughly $7.4 million at the time, based on EDB published program details. They raised the floor specifically to filter for the ultra-wealthy tier only. Singapore is not passively receiving migration, it is curating it. And here's the thing that reframes the whole competition. Hong Kong still processes more total trade volume than Singapore. What it is losing is not the cargo. It is the people who decide where the cargo goes next. Decision makers, not logistics. That is the actual prize, and once decision-making leaves, it's a lot harder to get back than a container ship.
So here is the mechanism that actually matters, the three things this wealth migration is reshaping that most analysis skips over. First, when private wealth concentrates in a city, it restructures which industries can survive there. Singapore's economy is now heavily weighted toward wealth management, not trade logistics. Second, the families that moved are not just parking money, they are routing regional investment decisions through Singapore structures. Capital follows the address on the letterhead. Third, Hong Kong is not done. It is repositioning as the mainland China capital gateway, a role that does not require Western legal trust, and one Beijing is actively backing. Two cities, two strategies, both are real bets. The GFCI 35 report from ZY Partners in March 2024 ranked the world's top financial centers: New York first, London second, Singapore third, Hong Kong fourth. That one-position gap between Singapore and Hong Kong is not just a scorecard result. It is a signal about where international capital trusts its money will be protected, and that signal is measured in billions of dollars of annual flow decisions. Singapore was the top net gainer of high net worth individuals in Asia in 2023, absorbing more new private wealth than at any prior point in the city's modern history. Long-term, the divergence is clear. Singapore is doubling down on being the Western capital-friendly hub: common law, zero capital gains tax, English-speaking government infrastructure. Hong Kong is positioning as the mainland capital-friendly hub, the gateway into and out of the Chinese financial system. Both roles are real, both have genuine value. Which one is more useful over the next 20 years depends almost entirely on US-China relations, and nobody can call that with any confidence right now. Back to those 2,000 millionaires, because the question was never which city wins, the question is who wins inside each city. In Singapore, it is the institutions, the government, and anyone who owned property before 2020. New arrivals get stability. The average resident absorbs the cost. In Hong Kong, the families who stayed are making a different bet, one connected to the largest economy on Earth. Neither city is a safe haven. They are just different kinds of exposure. Know which one you're watching. If this landed, the video on why capital controls are making a comeback goes deeper into exactly how governments decide where wealth is allowed to move. Subscribe if you want more of this.